There are clearly good films and clearly bad films, but today on this podcast, we will suicide backflip into a motorbike chase that will lead us to the poorly CGI'd battlefield where we can duke out the opinions of our duplicate selves about all of the films that land somewhere in the middle. This is Good Bad, Bad Good.
You don't know shit.
Kid, I know you inside out and backwards. You're allergic to bees. You hate cilantro. You always sneeze 4 times.
Everybody hates cilantro.
Yeah, you should listen to her. If I were you, which I sort of am, I'd go with computer science.
Save that for grad school. You want to start in humanities.
Okay, don't listen to her.
Don't listen
Guys.
to him. You need a grounding in the classics.
Hello and welcome to our podcast. I am Kylena. I am the actor slash writer of the podcast.
I am Travis. I am the producer and director. Hang on, Brian.
Fine.
Yeah, I love how you and I both looked at
Yeah,
Brian
you looked
and then you started talking.
Well, Brian wasn't saying anything.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I think you should go again because we were all talking over it.
Hey, I'm Travis. I am the director and producer on the podcast. Not of the podcast, but like on the podcast.
I am Brian. I am the video editor and brilliant mind of the podcast.
Excellent. Brilliant mind.
This was his idea, by the way.
This movie, this podcast,
Everything.
all of it. It's always Brian's idea,
Thanks.
especially the bad ones.
Oh, wait a second.
So today's movie
Yeah.
is Gemini Man. I almost said Gemini Effect yet again because I keep confusing Butterfly Effect and Gemini Man together. So,
Which would be a more interesting movie, probably.
Gemini Effect, the effect of getting cloned.
When the duplicates die, they get reborn into a new
Into a new
How does Butterfly Effect work
dimension.
again?
I can't remember. I gotta watch that
He
movie.
like thinks himself into the past, right? And then he's like in the past.
For all of you who are listening, which you are because it's a podcast, Travis just shuddered and squinted for 30 seconds.
They all know what I mean.
Yes. So yes, today's movie is Gemini Man. So we'll be discussing whether or not we think this movie is a good bad movie or a bad good movie. So if you haven't seen it since it was what year was it?
2019?
2019.
Right, Brian?
Yeah, I think it was.
Brian saw it on opening night.
Did
That
he?
is incorrect.
In IMAX.
Will Smith, baby.
Yeah, it came out October 2019.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have not seen it, then don't listen to this episode because there will be lots of spoilers.
They thought this was going to be like Oscar worthy.
No. Oh, well,
Ang
actually,
Lee.
yeah. That is the time to release.
Ang Lee, Will Smith playing 2 different like versions of himself where he has to cry.
Yes,
And, like,
the two different versions of Mr. Smith. So yeah, how are we doing today, guys?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was recently Brian's birthday.
it was my day of birth. It was lovely. Thanks for asking.
Happiest of it
Yes.
to you.
Thank you.
Although when this episode drops, it might have been
It doesn't
months
matter.
ago.
It doesn't matter.
It's always Brian's
Listeners, if you
birthday.
follow us on social media, whatever day it is that you're listening to this, go to Brian's Instagram and just wish him happy birthday. It doesn't even matter what
I'm
day.
fine with that.
It doesn't matter what day
Yeah,
it
I'm
is.
cool with that.
So yeah, should we go around before we sort of get into the discussion of this movie and say whether or not we thought it was good, bad, or bad good, or should we let Google tell us the synopsis first?
Yes.
The latter.
Google, can you please tell us the synopsis of Gemini Man?
In Spanish, that's nosotros la sinopsis de
Oh, Google. Let's try this again. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, one more time.
Hey, Google, can you please read us the synopsis of Gemini Man, the movie?
Here's the synopsis of Gemini Man. Henry Brogan is an elite 51-year-old assassin who's ready to call it quits after completing his 70-second job. His plans get turned upside down when he becomes the target of a mysterious operative who can seemingly predict his every move. To his horror, Brogan soon learns that the man who's trying to kill him is a younger, faster, cloned version of himself.
Okay.
So would you say the plot synopsis says his plans got turned upside down. Would you say they got flipped, turned upside down? And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. Let me tell you about the plot of Gemini Man.
Yes, everyone. Brian is in his late 30s.
And
Also, I love Will
apparently a
Smith.
rapper.
I love Will Smith.
Ed from Philadelphia.
Also
Who
that.
doesn't love Will Smith? Yeah. Did you like how he was wearing a Phillies
Hell yeah.
Flyers
That's
hat
literally
the entire movie?
My second note.
Finally, they got to that because he was in Georgia the whole time. So I was like, they better mention that like he went to school in Philly or something.
Yeah, the
Which they do.
third note I wrote for this movie was rocking the Phillies hat. Yeah, baby.
I didn't know if they were in Georgia, the state, or the country. I'm going to be honest. Because he's like a super
Yes,
soldier.
but it looks
type
like
thing.
Georgia.
I'm pretty
I've
sure
never
it
been
was
in
the
Georgia. I have no idea what
state.
No, it looked like a green screen.
What?
99% of the time. That's what it looked like.
Freaking movie looked like a green screen. Yes.
But the crazy thing is, it wasn't. We'll get into that.
Wait, it what? Oh, interesting. These are the things I don't know. So, but clearly Travis has some things to say. So, but before we go into
Yes.
the details,
Yes.
where we break down all of our opinions about all of the things that were magical and horrible about this film, we'll tell you whether or not we thought it was a good, bad, or a bad, good movie. So, why don't you go ahead, Travis? Start us off.
Ang Lee's 2019, The Gemini Man, was a bad, good film.
Brian?
Yeah, I struggled with this one. I guess I'm gonna have to go with bad, good film, but I actually enjoyed this movie. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with bad, good film, and I'll explain why later.
I am in the same exact opinion. So this is maybe the first time that we're all bad, good film.
trifecta.
But I actually agree with you, Brian.
Yeah.
I actually did enjoy watching this movie.
I did not enjoy this.
So like I wouldn't call this a good movie because
Yeah.
I'd never be like, this is Oscar worthy. But I was thoroughly entertained and thought it had heart. And because of the type of movie it is, I allowed myself to just suspend all
It's a popcorn movie.
of the disbelief things and just go
You
with it.
know? Yeah.
Well, I did eat popcorn while watching it.
Hey, there you go.
I also wanted to regurgitate my popcorn while watching
Oh,
it.
is that because the popcorn was bad? It couldn't have been because of the movie.
No, Pop Secret, extra butter.
Did you pop it in the microwave or on the stove?
Now we know who we need to get
Yeah.
to
Shout out Pop
sponsor
Secret.
this. This
We'll even
podcast.
do like the Spanish version. We'll do Pop Secretos.
Pop Secreto. I ate Emma's
Just
or
sponsor us.
Emmy's coconut chocolate cookies.
Okay.
Shout out Emmy or Emma.
You
Can't
definitely
remember the
want to
product's
sponsor
name.
us.
Yeah, right. They're delicious though.
I am not gonna lie. I feel like all the movies that we have seen so far have been very rough to me. Like it's just not
No,
enjoy. Like if we didn't have this engaging conversation where I enjoy talking to you two, I just don't know.
If you would go on.
No.
So
I
here's
think
a
I
question.
need to start drinking them. I need to start drinking tequila during every single thing.
yeah.
Yeah, like just straight tequila on
what
the box.
what type of tequila, Travis?
Probably reposado. Or are you saying type or you brand?
Brand. Come on, we're trying to get sponsored. That's been the whole plug. I'm like, I was waiting for you to go specifically Don Julio, or, whatever. 1942.
If you're trying to forget, Don will help you.
There you go. No, but I actually, that's a good point that you brought up, and it makes me wonder, are you the only one of us that has gone to film school, or did you also go to film school, Brian?
I did not.
Neither did I. So I wonder if it's because you've just been brainwashed by the film school nerds, and now you can't enjoy anything.
That's not true. That's not true.
I know,
That's
I'm
not true at all.
just- I'm
I
just
will
being an
watch
asshole.
every Fast and the Furious movie the night it comes out
Okay.
on the biggest screen I can.
Yes, but is that like a childhood thing? Is
No,
that
'cause
like
they were
you've been-
terrible when they first came out. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
but I still loved them. That's why I still go see them.
I maybe revisit the first one, but from like 5 and on, it's just like, oh, y'all like understand that you're a bad movie,
And you're embracing
but like
it.
you're entertaining and you're embracing it and you're entertaining it, and like you're jumping cars from building to building.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I mean, I like to say like some people like to do drugs. I like to watch Fast and Furious movies.
Well, I think that's a good segue to start us into the technical aspects of the film. I think I want to talk about that first.
Cool.
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
With this movie, I think
how
that
can you
makes
not?
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes the
Yes.
most sense. But also because you were talking about cars jumping places. And I just want to say, even though young baby Smith's face looked like it was halfway on his face throughout a lot of this part of the movie, the motorcycle chase was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah. The CGI, I have like such mixed emotions about the CGI of it because in some aspects it's pretty amazing that they made him look like his like 20-year-old self. And like there were a few times where I could buy it, where I was like, "Oh yeah, I could see it." The action scenes and specifically that motorcycle chase through I think it was Cartagena, it didn't really. I enjoyed the scene. I love action like car chase scenes like that, but it didn't look very realistic. It looked.
Oh yeah, half the time it looked like video game.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be complete opposite of you two in terms of CGI. I thought the car chase scene, I was not entertained by it just because it looks so freaking wonky and like the proportions of Will Smith at times.
Right.
I'm just like, why is his arm suddenly?
You're
like,
talking about Baby Smith
just both of them at times. Like the fight scene in
Junior. That's his name.
yeah, in the latter half of the film, the fight scene when they're like in the catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of them, I'm like, why are we CGIing two men fighting?
People. Yes.
I don't understand this.
Right. Why are we not doing
like why
practical at all?
Will Smith is still in shape. Like why he could do this.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, the younger Will Smith, I thought actually looked the best de-aging that I've seen so far. I thought it looked better than Irishman.
Oh my God. I could not handle the de-aging in Irishman. At first I hated that movie, which I know I'm of the minority there. But secondly, the de-aging in that movie just because at least with Will Smith in this, I think part of the thing that helped was that his actual body still moves youthfully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas
sure.
like
Irishman was,
in
like, this
Irishman,
weird-
we're watching old men move like old men with young man faces, which just I couldn't get out of.
Which I think I've said before, and I know we're segueing to a different movie, but I think I said before that I actually kind of enjoyed that because it was like this weird, like, because the whole film is like this meditation on like aging and like regrets and all that, and it's just like these old men, like all of them, Scorsese, like everyone involved, is just like they're still trying to do this thing, and it's like I don't know,
Great, don't nominate
it's just
it.
this what.
He said, "Great, don't nominate it." But
I actually just bought the Criterion Collection version 4K of Irishman, so we could watch it sometime if you want.
that's okay.
I haven't revisited it since the movie theater.
But you liked it in movie
Oh my
theater.
gosh,
I didn't see it in the theater either.
Cheers.
Yeah. No.
When he goes to the bank to try and talk to his
So
daughter.
back to Gemini, man.
Oh yeah, thanks. Good.
Yeah,
Good.
sorry.
Good, Brian. Keep us back on topic. Yeah, back to Gemini and all the technical
sorry. Yes.
aspects.
What was I saying? His de-aging though, I actually thought was like some of the better CGI in the film. Like I will take the de-aging of Will Smith over like a wonky, like weird punch and like it was like when he like hits him in the face with the motorcycle tire.
That was weird.
It's like
Oh,
this
yeah.
weird like
Yes, that
it's like
was
this weird
Yeah.
velocity ramp that like it's slow and then it, like and it's
Also,
like this looks so
In real life, if
wonky.
you're gonna get hit in the face with the front wheel of a motorcycle like that, you're not just getting up after that. Your face is gonna be like smushed in. You're at least gonna be pouring blood out of your nose, if nothing else, right? Like
especially because it was hot too, right? So it would
Yeah,
be
well,
smashed in and sizzled,
exactly.
charred, burned.
but he was still okay to do a full
yes, that's what I was gonna
push up
say.
into the air.
That was totally Neo in the Matrix right there. It was. And I admittedly, I still kind of loved it because I thought it was kind of hilarious, but it was also ridiculous. But it was very much Neo in the Matrix when he's like bending back around bullets and stuff.
So the other technical aspects that I thought should be touched on. Obviously all the CGI is like part of the de-aging, like that takes a big like front and center stage. But like Ang Lee with this film and the film before this one, he did Bobby Lynn's halftime show.
I think it was Halftime Walk or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like I should know what I'm talking about before.
You talk about it? Okay, well, I remembered my thing.
Okay, go for it.
So what I noticed, and okay, so this is me not knowing how CGI works, or like not really. I just really don't understand anything. Travis and I were watching the Oscars together the other night, and there was like CGI, or there was green screen backgrounds, and I was like, there were two people standing in, I think what was supposed to be Australia, and Travis was like, that must be a green screen, and I was like, but the water's moving, and then I like realized after I said it that doesn't mean anything.
Wow.
But that's how
it was a pretty bad green screen.
how
comp.
much
like it was fuzzy around like around like
Their
like
head.
their head, like the edges of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't very refined, but
Yeah.
yeah, the river was moving.
Yeah. But that's how terrible I am at noticing these things. So I don't know if what I'm about to say makes any sense at all. You guys tell me. But what I tended to notice was that Junior's face in anything that was natural lighting, where they were actually what I think was shooting outdoors, was really obvious versus when they were in studio spaces in controlled lighting. And I also remember thinking the same thing of when watching The Irishman, is that anytime they were outdoor doing the young scenes, like there's a scene with Robert De Niro where he's like shuffling to the truck outside, and during those moments of like natural light, everyone else is so lit naturally that I notice the computer graphic that's been like posted onto the head of this moving body.
Like the scenes at the very end.
But does that make sense?
Yeah, like the scenes at the very
Yeah.
end where they're like on the college campus or whatever it was a lot more obvious.
Yes.
You know, that it was CGI for sure.
And the bike race.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
shout out Brooklyn College. That's my master's alma mater.
Oh,
Is that where they filmed
Yeah.
that?
I was like, is that Brooklyn College? I'm like, oh, that is Brooklyn College. I know that campus.
Nice.
So they all then moved to New York?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't understand why they were on Brooklyn College
because
campus
that
at
doesn't
all.
look like Brooklyn though. Like you don't look at that. Like
I wouldn't have known that was
I
Brooklyn.
lived in New York and I didn't know that was Brooklyn.
True, but how often did you go to Brooklyn College campus?
Well, never. But that's my point. Is most people will not know that
I mean,
was.
but also like Columbia too. If you go to
fair.
Columbia's campus, Columbia, you would forget that you're in Manhattan.
That's fair. I'll allow it.
Lawyered.
You say lawyered?
Yeah.
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 So what was the point that you were gonna make?
So just like his last film, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which came out in 2016, Ang Lee shot that film and this film at a higher frame rate than normal.
Right.
So typically with films, I'm sure you two know, but like the listeners who might not know, the typical film aesthetic look is shot at 23.975 frames per second. But like Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, I want to say was at like 60 or 120 frames per second.
And this was 120.
And that just
Gemini Man, I think
Was this one?
120. Yeah, I think I read that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like you're getting more data essentially in your eyes. So like you're not getting like a motion blur kind of that you would get with like normal like film stock or normal like 24 frames per second. Which tells your brain like I'm watching a movie. Whereas this, it's like I'm watching something that's weird. And a lot of like video cameras, like handy cams, those are at like 60 frames per second. That's why you could really tell when it's like, oh, it's a handy cam. Right. So because this was shot at 120 frames per second, thank you, Brian, for actually looking that up. I meant to,
You're
but
welcome.
I didn't. I knew it was higher though. A lot of the footage, like I couldn't tell if it was a green screen or if they were, just because it looked like everything looks so weird to me. So typically, if you shoot at that high of a frame rate, you're using it for slow motion. So like if you're doing something in slow motion, you shoot at a higher frame rate so that you could slow it down to 24 frames per second, and it still looks like nice. So yes, it drove me crazy that I'm like, everything looks like a green screen. And like I looked, and like the shooting locations weren't just, you know, Paramount Studio Lot B.
Right.
Like they were filming all over the place.
Yeah, I think
Were
most of
they?
it was not actually green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
But it looks like
because-
it, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting because I watched it with somebody that heavily plays video games and is like learning about film. And last night we're sitting there and he's like, "Did they shoot this all in a studio lot?" And I was like, "That's what I'm thinking because it straight looks like a video game to me." And he was like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm playing one of my games
Yeah.
and I can't figure out why." So
The higher frame rate gives this like hyper realism, and like, but it's like we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want that. It, like the same thing happened when they shot The Hobbit, I think, in like 60 frames per second, and like people who loved the original Lord of the Rings trilogy went to go see the Hobbit trilogy, and they're like, "This just looks so
Don't like
weird."
it.
I
Yeah.
don't- ugh. I mean, there's a reason we've been shooting films at 24 frames per second for over 100 years now, because it's like it's film. It looks good.
Well, also, I feel like I mean, I don't know if this is true either. I'm just spouting random technical things. I don't know. So let me know if I'm wrong. But a lot of TVs, I feel like are not quite calibrated to make
Calibration
it-
has to do with color. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm just using words I don't understand. I'm just gonna keep the thought to myself. I just wonder, like I know that sometimes when I'm watching on certain TVs, it looks like it's jumping out at me, or like it looks like I'm watching something that was filmed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
I know what
usually
you're
on
saying.
newer TVs, whereas I watch a movie on an older TV.
Yeah, like sometimes, like when I got, well, it's not new now, but when we got our TV a couple years ago, we would watch things, and it was such crystal clear high def that it almost looked like I was watching like real life float before my eyes, as opposed to like
Right.
TV or a movie or something.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's sort of it's like jarring. Like
Yeah.
it takes me out of the experience
Yeah.
instead of puts me into the experience.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I still can't get used to it.
Yeah.
Like every time I go to my mom's house, they have a new TV, and I'm like, I can't watch
Wow.
this.
Every time they have a new TV.
No, what you knew what I meant. Every time I
just
go
saying.
watch something there,
Yeah.
you know, every other day they buy.
Yeah,
a new-
yeah. I feel like I experienced that when like LEDs first came out. Like I remember when The Dark Knight came out on Blu-ray, and I was walking into a Best Buy, and like they had it on like this like 42-inch LED, and at the time I still had like a tube TV with like a VCR attached to like built into it, and I walked in and I'm like, oh my gosh, Heath Ledger's like right there, and it looks weird. But I feel like I've just watched so much now that it like just doesn't even phase me. I'm just like, this looks so good.
So I want to move on to the technical aspect of editing. If you guys are done with the CGI chat,
Sure.
Because there was just some of the editing was fantastic, but there was this scene that bugged me so badly in the beginning with Clive Owen and Linda Emmons. Emmons, is that how you say her last
I
name?
have no idea who she was.
She's
but
been
she was really
around
terrible.
for like a long time. She was terrible, right? Okay,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
that we can
Yeah,
save that for
you
the
can wait for
acting section.
acting.
I thought they were terrible together, but I specifically the very first scene that they're in, where they're in her office, the editing. Well, first of all, he was editing and directorial choices there. He was like standing above her. Great. So we see that even though she's the boss, he clearly has a power dynamic. And we see that because he's this big statured guy that's like standing above her. But then he starts pacing, and it's like taking his power away almost in this scene. And then the editing there is cutting so quickly between him pacing back and forth to her in this static shot, like down low. I was so confused and so jarred, and it made they felt like they were in two different rooms, and I couldn't, that whole scene. And I felt that way a couple different areas in the movie where I was just like, something's not syncing up with the editing here. Like movement to stillness to, it's not.
Yeah.
And I think because they were trying to cut some of the meatier speaking moments to make them quicker to go with the pace of an action movie, but it did not work for me.
I kind of felt the same way about the scene where she's in the coffee shop, the same woman, whatever that I don't remember what her character name is, and the messenger like comes in to deliver her that message. There's something
It was
about
so
that whole
weird.
scene just felt weird to me. Also, because like, yeah, because like, and Will Smith's character is like pointing out these
Better
guys
12
that
and 2.
I guess were coming to kill her or something like that. But then, yeah, but then nothing. Yeah, exactly. But nothing like came of like that whole scene was just odd to me. I kind of honestly felt like every scene that she was in.
Well, also, she
just
was
felt,
only there for context. Her character really doesn't have anything to do with
Yeah.
anything. She's only there so that parts of the plot can be explained to us.
no.
And then in that same scene, Will Smith tells her to tip the guy that that delivered this information, and she doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, lady, this guy just read you your address, your door code, let you know like that he knows all the times of day that you're at this place, that place, and you're not even gonna tip the man. He's just gonna walk into your house and steal your diamonds. Like
Yeah,
what?
I know.
What? It was
Yeah.
such a stupid moment.
That's true.
I can't recall the first scene that you're talking about with her and Clive Owen. I remember it like story wise in my head, but I don't remember thinking that the editorial choices were weird. I will say, but like to agree with you, there's a scene where they're out in a courtyard and they're like on a bench,
Mhm.
and
Another just scene for plot.
oh my gosh, it like there was like they're doing shot reverse shot, and then they break the 180-degree rule, and like they're like 20 feet away, and then they're like looking weirdly. And I was just like, all of these choices, it's so weird to me. And what is fascinating to me is like it's Ang Lee. He knows how to make a film. Like he has done so many good things, and it's just crazy to think that the same guy who made Life of Pi, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and like Brokeback Mountain is jumping the 180-degree line for like these shots.
Yeah. Well,
It's just so weird to me.
well, if we're done talking about technical things, we could.
Just got one quick thing. I didn't notice music throughout the movie. I kind of just didn't really notice anything, but I did like the intro music. It was very Game of Thrones-esque, I thought. Like during the opening credits. I don't remember how it went, and I'm not going to try to sing it to you because I don't want all of our listeners' ears to bleed. But it reminded me of Game of Thrones, which I enjoyed.
Did the movie remind you of Game of Thrones? Then did
No,
you
just
feel
the-
like the
just the
opening
opening
score was
score
the
during
right
the
choice for
credits.
this movie or for Game of Thrones? And just clarifying.
Well-
because you're like, I really liked it, but it reminded me
But
of
it-
something
Yeah,
that
that's a good
doesn't
question.
remind me of this film.
It's really weird
Something
that they used the
completely
Harry
different.
Potter score for this movie.
Right. Basically the same
Yeah, but there
thing.
was fully fleshed out female characters in Game of Thrones, which this didn't have.
Oh, yes. I have a lot.
Oh
a
my
lot.
gosh, the women in this film just.
And the acting of the women in this film. And the casting. And the everything.
Whatever section Kai wants to go to next.
I want to go to story just because we sort of started to break stuff down, and then you asked the
okay.
question of like, how does this filmmaker make this? And I feel like going into the story now so that the context of the scenes and the acting makes more sense when we get there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
So story. Travis, you were saying you can't believe this director made this film.
Well, Ang, if you happen to be listening to this, I still love you very much, and like a lot of his films are some of the best films I think I've ever seen. But and I don't know, maybe with his last film and this film, it's very much like he's just truly experimenting. Like he's to a point where people could throw millions of dollars at him, and he's just like, I'm gonna shoot this at 120 frames per second because I want to. Which more power to him. But I didn't have a problem with the story. I had the problem with the actual like dialogue. Like I thought the dialogue was so bad.
Yeah.
But like story wise, it's an intriguing concept. Like cloning someone without them knowing, and also what Clive Owen was getting at in the end of like, why don't we like essentially do genetic modification to make sure that soldiers that are out there don't have any like why like we're literally just breeding them for fighting. It's an intriguing concept, but like when you have this dialogue that's so stilted or like cliche or just I'm like, this is not how people talk. Like, no one in this film spoke like a real person. Everyone spoke like the cliche, like, what's the word that I'm thinking of? What caricature of like
Of a person.
of the movie version of like, oh, that's the bad guy, so he needs to like.
That I will say that didn't exactly bother me. Or I noticed it, but I didn't think much about it because I went into this movie already feeling like this is a big blockbuster movie. And typically with big blockbuster movies, that's what you get, right? Because they're trying to move the plot along. They're trying to, because you need a bunch of time for the action sequences.
Mhm.
So you don't have time for dialogue that's subtle.
Yeah.
Right? We got to get it out. We got to
Yeah.
get it out. We got to get it out.
No context,
so it
just
didn't-
exposition.
Right. And it didn't bother me that much only because
No subtext, sorry, not context.
Right.
You got what I
Only
said.
because Will Smith is like two of the main characters in this movie, and I could watch that man do literally anything and literally say anything and believe him always. So it
Preach.
didn't bother me as much.
Preach.
But I do understand what you're saying, and I also really loved the concept, especially that Clive Owen poses at the end of
Mhm.
like, he's like, no, I am a good guy because I'm trying to do this good thing where if there aren't parents or anybody that cares about these humans, then why not use them as the war soldiers? And then the flip side of that, which is like, but they are humans, so they're still having experiences. So you're still creating a being to be killed, which is really interesting. And I also loved the plot point that we can, like, Will Smith's character Henry can still get through to Junior because Junior was created but just sort of as a exact replica, and then Clive Owen was, his whole concept with the first one was like, I'm going to treat you differently. I'm going to teach you from birth that like you need to trudge past your fears so that you don't have it, and this, that, and the other. Whereas the third one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the third version of Will Smith that comes in towards the end, that one I thought was actually genetically modified to, not have fear in them. So I liked that there was an evolution even within this story.
I 100% can get behind Clive Owen's motivations, and like, not saying I agree with them in any way, but like the motivations that he's saying in the last 3 minutes of the film are compelling motivations for a villain.
Mhm.
It's like this villain is doing something that's morally and ethically wrong by most people's standards, but like he believes it 100% that it's the right thing to do. The only thing is, it shouldn't come with only 3 minutes left in the film. Because the whole time you're just like, why? Like, we don't. There was like maybe 20 minutes left, and I look over at my wife and I'm like, why are they trying to kill Will Smith? Like, I honestly don't know why they're trying to kill him. Like, why can't they just let him retire?
I didn't.
The
care
only
'cause
hint
I
that we
just
got,
was
the
enjoying
only hint that we
watching
got,
I mean, they said because
the only hint that we got was there was one line where Will Smith said, they killed the one guy on the yacht or whatever, and they probably think that he told me something that was important. But probably maybe told me something is
And
like
then we kind
all
of-
we have to go
we
off
actually
of.
kind of lose that plot.
We have no idea why they're trying to kill him.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because they thought that he knew that they used him to kill somebody innocent
Right.
instead of like he thought he was killing some sort of like bioterrorist, but it turns out that the guy was actually just like a scientist, and so he knew he found out that they used him
And
to
then
kill
they're like-
somebody who was not a terrorist. So I think they were just they were basically like, what if he were to out us or say
And not
something
only
like they're
what
trying to
if,
eliminate any
It
threat.
was like, he probably
to
will
their
because we know
programming.
this one has a moral compass. Right. He has a conscience.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one thing that
Gosh, Brian.
my
No, yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying,
You're right,
I
and
think
that
very
and that
deeply.
comes through now that I'm thinking about it. But just like,
it wasn't strong
it
enough
wasn't
for you to, like,
very
attach
clear.
yourself
It
to
was just
for
like-
the whole, because for the most part I loved the concept and I liked the story. What I didn't like is the very end where they're like, oh, the the last clone was killed and we're shutting down the program entirely. And Will Smith is like, good, I believe you. You know, those aren't the words, but like, why? This traitor organization that has been doing this thing, that has lied to you the whole time, is one, just gonna shut off this thing that they've been working years to accomplish just because the main guy was dead? And two, you just believe them? It was so simple. It was such an easy fix that I was like,
Yeah.
I like, even if like, why not leave it open-ended? Especially like this, and I don't actually know how well this movie did, but especially like we could,
Sequel.
yeah, right, easily.
Will Smith is big box office, so conceivably a Will Smith movie
I don't
could
think this
have
did
a
very
sequel.
well.
Right.
I'm looking it up now.
I actually want to say, I did look it up at some point and I can't quite remember. I think it was like 5.7 on IMDb. Is that
Yeah,
right?
the rating.
Yeah. But I don't know how well it actually did. Yeah.
So worldwide, it did $173 million.
How much did they spend making it?
Probably a lot with that CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that CGI, they probably spent it. And Will Smith
Yeah.
doesn't come cheap either.
Especially double Will Smith.
Clive Owen probably doesn't come cheap either.
You think they
Mary
had to
Elizabeth
pay,
Weinstein doesn't come
do
cheap
you
either.
Two
think they
times
had
the Will
to pay
Smith.
Will Smith double his budget? Or like,
You mean triple?
Right, triple. Yeah. Do you think? They paid him
Yeah,
3
yeah,
salaries
true.
for playing 3 different characters.
Although, really like 2.5, because the third Will Smith is barely in it.
I did
So
really.
we'll say 2.5
there was something
times.
in my
Yeah.
like soul that was like, just fell in love with like young Will Smith all over again, seeing him
yeah.
as a young man and then as like a baby.
It was total Fresh Prince all over again, looking at him like
Yeah,
that.
it was. I was like, I was like 8 years old again.
He kind of reminded me of first Bad Boys Will Smith. Like he kind of had that kind of look to him. Like he looked like he was around that same age, probably.
Yeah,
It had a budget of $138 million.
and they
Which
made
is-
173 million. That's at least they made some, but
Barely,
At least
because
they're in
like
the black.
you typically with films like you double the budget
Right.
marketing for the other half. So
oh
it's like,
right. Oh,
Ooh.
right.
So it's 138 million to make, and then probably typically 138 million to market.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about the other than like story's fine. The script was really bad.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, and I feel this way about a lot of action movies or a lot of popcorn movies like this, that when the movies slow down and they try to have like quote unquote serious conversations or serious dialogue, they tend to suffer. I think action movies, and I mean, not in every case, but a lot of times action movies, they don't do action and dialogue well most of the time. And I feel like this was an example of that. When the movie like tried to slow down and have like actual conversations, the dialogue was not very good.
It can be done though that there is a good action film with like a good script, like where people
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, for
Die
sure.
Hard. The Mission Impossible movies of late, like they're all like
Not all of them,
no.
but yes.
I said of late.
I secretly love
Oh,
the
okay.
first
I
one.
couldn't stand that they were
'Cause
trying.
the second Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
was
It's
bad.
really just the second one. Like
Yeah.
the second one is like
The rest are pretty good. The second one's terrible. The second one's is almost like a softcore porn in a way. Like it's yeah, because there were like scenes where it's like all this like
Do you remember
like
this?
softcore
No.
porn
Soft
music and
porn?
Brian
Mission-
just
I
let
watched
us
it- I watched it
know
relatively
what he
recently.
used as porn when he was a 13-year-old child. Well, you just outed yourself, dude. It's okay. We all have our
That is-
movie Fatal Attraction.
that is incorrect. I'm not answering that. I'm not moving.
It's just something about the doves. I don't know. It just the white
Anyway.
doves.
Wait, so one
Continue.
last thing I want to say about the story is that I did appreciate that they never made the main female character the like love interest. That like they sort of had a few jokes about it, and he made the joke of like, I would
Yeah.
have thought that you were attractive when I was a young man, or I would have chased after that when I was a young man, but I'm 50 and you're 30 or whatever it is, and yeah, that they didn't push that.
Yeah, I thought that scene was funny actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
I
cute.
appreciate that they didn't either.
Yeah.
I will say like 30 minutes into it though, like I asked my wife, I was like, do you think they're gonna bang? Like I'm pretty sure they're going to, right?
Yeah, we all
It's like
asked
totally leaning towards
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, dang it, like why? Like, can we just have like appropriate aged, like, I mean, it's fine, I guess, but like no.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, Clint Eastwood is having like, threesomes in his film still. So it's like, ugh.
Well, it's
Hollywood
not-
will never change.
Yeah, I mean the age thing honestly didn't bother me that much, but I didn't like there didn't seem to be that much chemistry. It more felt
With
like the
anyone?
script.
Yeah.
Right. And so it more felt like the script is leading us that way, but I liked that it didn't. And then it's just like, okay, all men and women have some sort of tension, or not all, but there's like, and not all men and just people, human beings. There can I just let me crawl out of this corner, please. No, I just meant that they're like alluding to something that never happens, and it felt more real and honest.
I actually thought that her and Junior were going to potentially end up having a thing once they like started working together or
Right,
whatever.
and then when they're sorry.
No, that's it. I was done.
Yeah, just when they're at Brooklyn College,
Yeah.
shout out for you, Travis.
Shout out BC.
Like they both show up, and you have that moment of like, okay, is this the moment where we realize, oh, they got together with like old Will Smith, and then the baby boy comes out, and you're like, or is it the moment where we realize they got
Yeah.
together?
But also,
And I
what
appreciate
is she
that they
doing
didn't
there?
do either.
Like, is she
What
there to
are-
help?
Right.
I
They're
get
all
that
just
he's
getting
I get
together
that
to hang
he's
out.
possibly like
Father
becoming
figure
a
now.
like a paternal role.
Right.
But I'm like, why is she there? To make sure that he got
Mother role. I don't know.
Why is she there?
all the time?
Period.
I don't mean this to sound bad, but like, why is she there at all? Like, they never really explained why she's supposedly kind of like tailing him or shadowing him in the beginning either, do they? Like, I just missed that.
They put a woman and an Asian actor. And I don't mean to say that in any way, except for that I feel like in the place that we are, where movies are changing and everyone's trying to respond to inclusivity, I think there is a lot of things pushed into films or put into films so that they can't be scored, like that won't be scored against them. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Like, so they had a female character in the
Right.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
that they did nothing.
Yeah,
with.
I mean, it's possible.
Right.
Nothing at all. But it's also she was
Yeah.
recently in Margot Robbie film.
The
Oh my
Birds of
gosh.
Prey.
Yes. And she was really good in it. She was actually one of the better parts of that film. And like she's like one of the more physical like fighters in the film. And I'm like, she could have done so much in this film, but like she's walking around with this gun and I'm like, she's not even holding.
She had
What?
the one fight scene initially when they're going to grab the boat early in the movie. She fights the dude like in like the office
Yeah,
or
but that
whatever
was
it
like
is.
so unbelievable to begin
I
with.
thought, and I don't know what category casting falls into, technical, production, acting. I don't know, but I'm going to talk about a casting
Yeah.
thing right now.
Probably be
Um,
acting, but whatever.
All right,
Go.
then let's
Go for
just wander into acting.
Yeah.
So
Segue.
I just saw the casting of her was poor because her body and I didn't see Birds of Prey. So but her actual the structure of her body does not look like that of she's not muscular in any way. I don't believe that this woman like went to basic training, that she continued to have training, that she's worked around gut. There was no she is thin, but she doesn't look like she works out
She doesn't
whatsoever.
look like Demi Moore in what's the
G.I.
G.I.
G.I. Jane
where
or
she's doing one-handed
Yeah.
push-ups.
right. And so and like I watched that and I went, am I thinking this because this is an unfair stereotype that I have of like what people who are able to fight look like? And then I think about like every like stunt actor that I know or no, they work their fucking asses off to be able to, and their bodies look like they work their asses off. So I just felt like it was poor casting that way, because she looked like, if you had told me that she was in the Navy SEALs or whatever, but she was a techie in the Navy SEALs, that she like sat behind a computer all the time and helped the espionage sneak into whatever.
Intelligence.
1,000, thank you. I would 1,000% believe you. But I did not believe that this woman gets out there with guns a-blazing. And like you said, even there was a moment, oh my God, the moment where she wakes up. I think he comes into her room and she wakes up and she pulls her gun out and to him, and it's like she almost fumbles the gun a little bit before, and like, okay, great, maybe you're sleepy, but it didn't look like it was purposeful.
No,
And I was
her
like,
her
no.
her holding of like the assault rifles and stuff like that, it was like it's not believable at all. And this could be a fault of like pre-pro, like they just didn't give them enough training, like film wise, because like there is quite a few like, you know, like for Marvel movies, like Scarlett Johansson goes through so much training to like
right.
pull all
Become
that off.
character,
Yeah. So it could be to that extent. And like also Will Smith is possibly just benefiting from like, you know, 3 decades of being an action star where
Right.
he has had training to some extent. But yeah, like she's like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I feel like as soon as she fires it, the kickback's going to throw her back.
Yeah, you're right. So I shouldn't even say poor job casting. It could have been, you know, they didn't train her correctly. They wasn't directed well in those moments. But that part just did not get pulled off for me.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like, and like I know her, and I know I've seen her in other things, but like I don't know her really that well. So, and I didn't think she was very good at all in this movie.
Either.
Like the scene where Junior's leading her through the caverns,
Catacombs?
the catacombs or whatever they were toward the end of the movie. Like her, and I get like maybe it was kind of on purpose because she's like in a way speaking to real Will Smith through their intercom piece that we find out about later. But like the dialogue of the way she was speaking to Junior just felt so bad. Like it felt almost like robotic and like completely lacking any type of like actual human emotion in it.
Right.
Script.
I felt like the best place, or the place that she like came out the most for me, was the very first scene, or the like second scene after he finds the thing in his boat. Henry finds the thing in his boat and he comes back.
Yeah.
And then they have that sort of flirty scene, and I went, yes, I would cast you in an indie rom-com in a heartbeat. I would not cast you in this movie.
Yeah.
Because of all of the you know, rest of it. But I always wonder too, with acting performances of someone that sort of toes the line of like, was this the right casting choice or not? If like, how many takes did she do that might have been a better editing choice for her performance, but weren't put in because it wasn't the best editing choice for action or whatever else, you know?
I don't think I've seen her in anything where I thought that she was bad other than this, which makes me think like this is an anomaly.
Right.
Like she was, like I said, Birds of Prey, and also in Birds of Prey, she's substantially like more muscular because she's like this trained assassin that like takes out.
I want to see Birds of Prey now.
It's amazing. It's on HBO.
I heard bad reviews.
I thought it was I thought it was one of the better comic book movies I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
It's also like very rated R, and it's like in my weird mind, it's the perfect, like it's like how I would make a comic book movie, like not holding back like the PG like ness of it. But yeah, she was also in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like, and she was amazing in that. Have you not seen that either?
No.
Kai,
Sorry.
you've seen Scott Pilgrim, right?
She looked familiar
Brian?
to me, but I feel like
You've
this
seen
is
Scott
maybe
Pilgrim,
the
right?
first thing I saw.
Yeah, I saw it like probably when it was in theaters, so I don't remember a lot about it. I remember her more recently from the Cloverfield
Yeah,
sequel.
she was in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I see
She's the main
sequel?
woman. Did you not see that either?
Yeah, it's basically
Don't
just
tell
like
me you
her
saw
and
the
John
third
Goodman,
one. Don't
right?
tell me you saw Cloverfield
10
Paradox.
No, I never saw the first one. I did see the second one.
Okay.
That's the one with
John Goodman.
Not Candy. John Goodman.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that was great, and I liked her in that. That
her
was
and
just
John
so
Candy.
long ago. Okay, that's
Her and
where
John
I've seen
Candy.
her. Yeah.
So you all are talking about like who was bad, who acted bad. I'm gonna take it one step further, and I actually wrote the note of why is everyone so bad at acting in this movie? I did not
Well,
think.
if that's your question, then it's director, not actor.
Agreed. Could be, but we're in the acting category right now, which I did not think anyone was good in any way.
Will Smith,
Will Smith was doing his like phoning in, like, I'm really serious while I'm talking on
Will
this
Smith
phone
was good.
right now, and then I'm gonna get angry, and then I'm gonna get back to how I am, and I'm like, yeah, we've seen this like 1,000 times, and then like
Will Smith was very Will Smith, I'll say that. But I thought he was decent in some of the action scenes.
that was all CGI.
That counts as acting.
So when it wasn't actually Will Smith,
Well,
that's when
not
he was
all
the
of it.
best.
I was actually personally surprised at how much I did not enjoy Clive Owen's performance. I at the
Yeah.
end when he has his moment of explaining himself, I liked that better. But the couple scenes with him and Linda Emmons, I think that's her name, is they're terrible. I thought both of them were terrible in all of those.
Everyone.
And I let me just clarify. I always hate talking about how performances are terrible because
You're an
as
actor.
an actor, I know how fucking hard it can be and how if you are in a situation where you're going, or if you're looking at a movie and you're going all the performance are terrible, then you go, okay, there was something else going on. It was either directing, it was the energy on set, it was the editing choices that were used, it was, because it's really hard to make a film where you look at it and go, every actor in that was horrible, especially when you have great actors. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As I was going to say, when you have people that you've seen and be good in other things, it also just felt like, and maybe this is back to casting, but it felt like none of the characters had any chemistry. Like we talked about Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Will Smith, but also we were talking about Clive Owen and I always forget the older lady, whatever her character is. Like none of them have any chemistry between each other either. Like it just felt like they were like separate.
It almost felt like a Tyler Perry film. Like they did one take and then they were like, all right, next shot.
Next shot.
I've never seen any Tyler Perry movies, so I can't comment. No, I saw he played some action guy based off.
Oh,
a
he was
book
Alex
that-
Cross.
Alex Cross.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw Alex Cross because I've read all the Alex Cross books, but I've never seen like any of the Tyler Perry's.
Is that a Tyler Perry
That
movie?
he's directed?
Yeah, no, that's like different than like Tyler Perry's
Yeah.
whatever the movies.
When
he's
he
got.
acts and stuff, like when Tyler Perry in Gone Girl was just like, have you not seen Gone Girl?
No.
Oh, okay.
I liked.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked. Yeah, I've seen it.
I was about to flip this table, Kai.
Have you not seen Gone Girl? No, I was thinking about the episode that Tyler Perry is in, Black AF, that cracked me up, and how I really enjoyed him in that. As you were,
Yeah,
so that's why I was making that face at
He's
you.
pretty
'cause I
decent
was
when he's
thinking
acting
about
and
something
like being directed by someone else.
Yeah, I like him in his own movies. I love Medea, but not all of the Medeas, and have
I
opinions.
feel like they're slightly problematic, but
Yes,
yeah.
agreed. Yes, but also
Speaking of which, problematic with this film, I just thought every single. You were talking about inclusivity, but like the women have no depth, no like. Literally are only there for exposition.
his side character actor that comes in, the guy that like the only reason he's there is to get them from place to place.
Oh,
Like once he gets
Benedict
them to the
Wong.
Yeah,
Baron,
Benedict
yeah.
Wong. But once he gets them to the
And they forced
Baron,
the
yeah.
like comic relief on him so hard, and I'm
So
like,
hard.
we don't need this.
right.
I feel like you could make the argument that the only characters that really had any sort of depth were the two Will Smith characters.
And on top of that, they're like the like tortured black man that like father left, and like, it's just like stereotype on stereotype on stereotype. That's like he's the angry black man because his dad died.
Also, can we talk about this? Is back to I guess story, but man, Will Smith is a hell of a shot in the beginning of this movie. I just want to say that real quick.
A hell of a what?
A shot.
Oh, yes.
sniper.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought they did a brilliant job
mean,
of
that was
setting
sick.
us up right away in that first scene to understand why he is who he is and why he would be the one who would be cloned.
Yeah,
I thought that was great.
yeah, that was sick. That was cool.
My point being,
Yeah. So I meant to mention that earlier.
my issue with like the Will Smith character being like slightly problematic is like you don't even dive into his history though. Like, okay,
You
his
can't,
father
or you wouldn't because the
his
action
father may have left, blah blah blah, but that like does nothing to the story. Like, it could have been as simple as like he was the best soldier we have ever seen, and we wanted to make a copy of him.
Right. Except, I mean, I think that it plays into the idea of, well, first it's this it's the copy of him, Junior, who's asking about his real parents. And the reason that the parents come into play is because later when Clive Owen's character starts to explain, if you don't have parents or anybody that's going to love you, then it's okay to take away your humanity. Right. So I feel like they had that discussion as a whole. You know, our history, our parents, our family make us who we are.
I mean,
Oh,
I
wait.
get that.
Speaking of that, sorry, I'm just gonna, because this drove me crazy. They have the same DNA, and Will Smith lists all the reasons why they all are the same. I get it that they both might be allergic to bees. Everything else is circumstantial. Everything else would be based on
Yeah.
like your environment that you grew
That's like
up in.
What else did he say?
Nature
Right.
versus
I
nurture.
can't
Yeah.
remember the list, but it was things
Oh,
like
it
you
was
don't
like-
like this and
yeah.
you love that, and it's like, what?
You really want a
Because-
girlfriend?
Right,
It's like, wait,
right,
what?
right, because you have this
Because at
DNA.
23,
That's
you also
not
wanted
just
a girlfriend
because of the way you were raised. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that he was still a virgin at 23 or
Yeah, but-
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very cheesy.
I'm like, you're talking about this guy having this troubled past, but like, he's a well-adjusted 50-some-year-old who's like good at his job. He's about to retire,
Retired
has a
early,
substantial
yeah.
401k. I
Yeah.
think he did pretty well.
And I think
Like,
he did great.
I
Yeah.
think he had an IRA for probably 30 years. Like, he's good. Like, he's fine.
They were just trying to bring in the element of family to like tug on the heartstrings, because his whole thing becomes, and I should have had a family of my own, right? Like, I got so into this job that I
Yeah.
didn't.
But he also had a strong single mother that, like,
Right.
it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. What are they?
it's not like he
reaching
was
for here?
it's not like he was an orphan that was like raised by like communist Russia to be like a soldier or something, you know? Like, it's not, he's literally not what's her name from
But isn't that why he explains that to the soldier that was raised to just be a soldier?
wait, what soldier are you talking about?
Junior.
You talking about Junior or you talking about the third one?
Junior.
Because I thought the third one was raised to just be a soldier.
Oh, right. Junior actually has the father figure of
Yeah,
Clive
he
Owen.
was.
Ah!
Which
My
is the
brain
other
hurts.
thing, because Clive Owen's like, I'm giving you like what he didn't have. I'm a father, but like you don't have a mother, I guess. So
And
you still
don't
only
need one.
yeah.
This movie is all anti-woman.
Okay, so
Or
it-
women are the ones who bring the moral compass, which is why you only needed a father, because we're the only ones with heart and
But
consciousness.
I just didn't get like I didn't get what the purpose of Junior was. Like, Will Smith is a good
To
but
kill
Will Smith
Henry.
is like like, I don't get why you have Junior if like you just want the third, like the evolution one, like the third one. Like, why'd you make Junior? Like, what is the point
Well,
you're
because
making with Junior?
You might have to go baby
if
steps.
like Will Smith is established as this well-adjusted grown
Because
man.
Clive Owen wanted a son of his own.
So he
Well,
was
you
sterile.
also
I
you
missed
can't
that
go right
part.
from A to Z. You got to go
Yeah.
down the steps. You can't just go right from A to Z. There's got to be some trial and error, so you're figuring
mean,
things
the
out as
sole
you go along.
reason
For all we
is
know,
so
that
if
that-
Owen is evil
it's
enough
the-
to clone a person, why not just go from A to Z? Why do you care about the middle?
Right.
Like, what is the goal of Junior if like you're
no.
preaching that?
because maybe he didn't know how to.
Right, doesn't it? Don't they say that he doesn't know how to, and then the other guy figured out how to?
What other guy?
They say the
don't
other guy
remember that.
died.
But maybe.
Am I? Am I making up stuff?
I'm just saying.
No, wait. There was another guy. Remember that they're like, it was his. Shit. I swear to God, they were talking about that. Like, the other guy got killed. It was like Clive Owen's character and one other person were creating. They were running Gemini, right? The Gemini program, and they decided to create this thing. And the other guy figured out how to create. Clive Owen created the first clone. The other guy figured out how to create the clone with no
Yeah. How to
remorse.
genetically modify.
and Clive Owen had that guy killed so that he could take over Did I just
Also, the
create
Gemini
a whole
program
subplot that
wasn't the
wasn't there?
clone. Like Gemini was like the special force.
that was created?
It was
Yeah, it was
everything.
everything.
So like the SWAT team that you see,
watching this.
the SWAT team that you see in like doing the exercise, that's all Gemini too.
No, I got
like Gemini
that. Yeah.
isn't just the
no,
clone.
I got that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I thought the like special program within Gemini that they were doing was also being run by this other guy. Am I making that up?
I don't remember that.
I don't know. I was rolling my eyes so far in the back of my head during this whole film. I was just like, I can't. My long-winded point though is like Clive Owen's argue like everything. It's pointless. It's all pointless. Because essentially what Clive Owen is saying, like, he's saying like I'm this father figure that he didn't have, but like no, like I'm still a single parent. So really, it's coming down to money. Essentially, like you're more well adjusted because like you have everything. You have all the Jordans that you want.
Is that your projection a little bit onto the film? Because I didn't read that into it.
Well, no, I'm not projecting that. It's like what I'm getting at is like all of his points that he's trying to make are moot points.
Right.
Because Will Smith is a decent human being.
Right. If Will Smith
like
sucked,
what are you improving on of Will Smith?
What he was trying to he was trying to take away his conscience. That was the whole.
But like,
because he is a good human.
You can't
being.
try and take away a conscience while constantly reminding them, like, I love you so much.
Right,
You are a perfect being. And
This is why it's trial and error. This is why he got it right with the third iteration.
But then why? But if
trial
you
and
know
error,
that
baby.
already,
You
why
can't get it right the
why
first
make him
time.
There
into a
wouldn't
super
be a
soldier?
plot
Just put
to
him into
this
college.
movie.
Put him into
There
college.
would not be a plot, Travis. And I was actually at the
Haven't you
end
ever
of
heard
the
of a
day, no
plot?
matter what we have said, I was entertained last night. I enjoyed my
But-
Emma's or Emmy's
Yes.
cookies, and I had myself a good time watching this
But
weird ass
also,
film.
but also the third one, the super soldier one. Yeah. He's the same age as Junior, so clearly, like you had.
He looked littler.
No, I
Yeah,
thought he looked
was
younger.
Baby.
No, he definitely looked younger.
He was junior.
Yeah, he was he was no older than like 18. He was at least 4 or 5
agree.
years younger.
Because you're right. He looked
Yeah.
the most
That
like
kid might
Will
not have been
Smith
able to
in
drive.
Wouldn't have been able to
Fresh
drive.
Prince. He wouldn't have been able to drive. Yeah. Only
Yeah.
motorbikes.
Which is
'cause
why.
that's
Which is
necessary.
why
he
he
was
just
definitely
ran
younger.
really fast.
Right. Actually, yes. Which that part was
Yeah.
dope as shit. I was like, "Ooh, who is this little one
That
coming?
was.
It's gonna be him again."
Yeah.
See, they build it up, and then like the fight's over in like a minute. I felt like
Maybe 2.
I didn't hate it. You're such a hater.
I felt like I was watching a freaking Power Ranger
I thought
episode.
it was fun.
Especially with his like outfit.
Travis, you're just a snob. You're an action
Especially
snob.
with like his outfit. I'm like, they're literally fighting the Black Ranger from Power Rangers.
Well, yes, but I liked that too because it was sleek, and I was like, "Yeah, crawl down that thing."
Yeah.
I did when they get to that town and that whole sequence happens. I'm like, does just no one live in this town, or did they like come in and clear
Everywhere
it out
they
before?
Everywhere they went, even when like they were doing the snipe, like when he had the shot on him when he was on the roof. I'm like, where is everyone?
In Colombia, you mean? Or
Is that where they were? I don't know where they were.
wait, what part of the movie?
Where
are
they
you
were
talking
in the
about?
colorful.
Yeah, they were. That was in
Yeah,
Cartagena.
in Colombia. Yeah,
Yeah, I was in Cartagena.
It
but
wasn't until like he was on the
Yeah.
roof and there was like the woman in the bikini. That was the first person we saw.
However, but he goes into that place. He shoots a lock on the door, that a big chain lock. That's
Yeah.
clear. That's like this building is empty and there's no one in here.
But there's no one on the streets, is what I'm saying.
Oh, there were a couple people because I remember.
Not until they get on the bikes.
Oh.
Is there like any people on the streets?
Oh, you're right.
They're like walking down the streets and there's like no one. I'm like, where is everyone?
Siesta, man.
You don't know. Maybe they were at a football
At
game.
9 o'clock in
Taking
the
a
morning?
Siesta. How do you know it
Soccer.
was 9 o'clock?
Because
Maybe
they just
woke
woke
up
up.
late.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Maybe they woke
You don't
up
know
late.
what time
that
it
was
was.
the other thing. When they wake up in Colombia and
Yeah,
he
you don't
sneaks
know.
into her room, he shakes her awake. She ain't got no gun, no nothing. I'm like, woman, you've been chased. You're staying in Colombia knowing that there are people after you.
Yeah.
And now is the moment where you don't put your gun under the
And
your
you're
pillow?
a trained DIA
That's
agent.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Ah.
and other dudes just
Yeah.
in the other room,
Yeah.
like snacking on things and watching TV with his parrot.
Yeah.
Like
So
we're kosher now.
I guess we're in the nitpicking phase now.
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
definitely in the nitpicking phase because we've talked successfully. Well, I don't want to use that word. That's a little bold about the rest of this movie.
Did we miss any of the other
I mean,
topics
we didn't
to
talk
talk about?
directing. Really, it was sort of
That was all
peppered in all
incorporated,
the way
yeah.
through.
We tied it in a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I say we talked about the story and the plot and the acting and the technical. Can do a nitpick section.
I think we nitpicked the whole thing already.
Well,
I
wait.
feel like that's going to be the trend with all our episodes.
Oh, I had a nitpick. No, my one nitpick was that which by the way, I actually loved this action sequence when they first come to get Will Smith, Henry, from his home in Atlanta, and he just rolls off the bed and into the little thing. That whole
That was
scene,
sick.
even the like focus pull onto the ninjas that are like coming into his yard, I was like,
ninjas.
ooh, what?
Yeah.
But when he drops down into his cellar, he's like fully clothed. And I was like, you were just sleeping fully clothed? Is that what we do every day?
When you live the life that Will Smith lives, you never
guess
take a
he
He
second
wasn't
off.
like tucked into
Did
bed.
he know at that point that they were after him?
No.
I'm trying to remember.
No.
No, he only got the alert that
On
there
his
were people on his property, but
No,
he didn't
he was
know.
getting alerts
Yeah.
throughout the film, right? Like, what are these alerts? Are these Amber Alerts?
Well, he got an alert.
Is he getting
when his
Amber Alerts
handler-
that someone's going to kill him?
He got no. Yes, he got an alert that his handler was showing
Right,
up
on the- but that-
first, but then the only other alert he got was
Right,
but
that
then
his
didn't she
property
get an
had
alert
been-
too at one point, or am I making this up?
I don't
No.
think so.
It just felt very much like
No,
Mr.
he
and
showed
Mrs.
up
Smith
at-
when they
in her
like got the
place.
text for like the hits or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I was like. Is this like a DIA like?
I will say I don't think he was wearing his shoes though. So then it also made me wonder, did
Oh,
that
maybe.
duffel bag have shoes in it? I hope so. Because otherwise,
probably if you're packing a go bag,
Right,
you gotta throw some
right,
shoes
right,
in there just in
okay,
case.
alright.
You need sandals, you need your loafers, you need your running shoes. You gotta
You
have
need
a
your
few.
flip
You
flops,
gotta be prepared for all
chanclas.
situations.
you
make
need
sure
your-
you got your boat shoes
Yeah.
when y'all's on the run.
Yeah. What? This is not a nitpick, but was I the only one that thought? And maybe this is just because Will Smith is in his 50s now, but I thought that his hair looked grayer than I would have expected it to be, and I was at first wondering if they tried to make his hair look grayer to make the age separation between him
Sexy
and Junior.
salt and
I,
pepper
little
daddy.
I noticed the same thing, and I feel like it's
Okay.
one of two things. It's either like that's his actual gray, and he just dyes it, like when he's
in real world.
in the real world, or they did make him
Right,
age,
that could
or
be.
like they aged
That
him
could
up.
be.
I mean, there's so many people in their 60s that like in Hollywood that aren't gray. Not that Will Smith is in their 60s. My point is like
Yeah,
there's even
that's
people
true.
older than Will Smith that are like
Right.
not gray for some reason.
Right. That I
Like,
don't
I'm
even
losing my
think
hair in my
about it.
20s. I know these people are gray or going bald.
I loved that Brad at the Oscars the other night was full on bleach blonde again, like Brad Pitt from 1997. Maybe you guys
I thought he
didn't
was
notice
gray.
that.
Didn't he
No,
have a little
was,
bit of gray?
No, it was blonde.
Hmm.
I mean, he might have had
He's
gray
reclaiming his
peppered in
youth.
there, but he's definitely dying
I
blonde.
really appreciate that he was
appreciated
there,
it.
just to get the line of like, "It's nice to meet you. You were never on
Yeah,
set."
right. That was such a great.
Did you see the
call-out
Oscars?
moment.
No, I didn't watch.
Never mind then.
It's okay. It's not a part of our podcast, anyways. Any other nitpicks? Anybody?
I just don't understand this movie. No, if they have a little tracking beam in him at all times,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
why don't they just bomb wherever he is?
Excellent point. Because the only one
'Cause
that
then
could
the movie would be
actually
over.
kill him.
Also, why didn't Junior just kill him?
Because then the movie would have been over.
Right.
Why didn't Will Smith just shoot him when he had the jump on him when he was on the roof?
Because he's got the
Because he looked. That was the
conscious.
first time
So
he
you don't
realized it
think
was
they
himself.
I would have if someone was chasing me and shooting at me and I looked up and there was a Mexican looking man with glasses that looked somewhat like me, I'd be like, no, that guy's just another Mexican. That's not me. Like, I have to be like in front of him with his glasses and his hat taken off.
He's got this sniper beam. This man can hit a moving train car and that's going 2 kilometers.
No.
Yeah,
He
from
can
like
see.
I would have pulled that
Yeah.
trigger and then later on that night I'd be like, damn, it was a weird day. I shot my doppelganger. It was so weird. Oh, well, I survived. Not going to stop while this guy's shooting at me.
No.
I'm a trained assassin.
You would have ruined the movie.
However,
You
they
would've
make
ruined
sure
the
that
movie.
we know that he is extremely pissed off that he shot an innocent man. So we also know from the beginning
Oh, really?
that yeah. Wait, you serious? He was the friend that like he's
Listeners,
like, you lied
I did
to
watch
me.
the movie, I swear.
I'm feeling like that's so much. Right
I
now.
watched
I'm
the
like,
trailer
wait,
and I-
isn't that what happened? I think
I watched the trailer and that's pretty much
I
it.
have credibility to talk about this film, sure.
I guess what I'm saying is like that emotion truly didn't hit. Like I never really felt like he was that mad. Other than like raising his voice.
That's because you're just not in tune with your emotions.
Yes.
Dude, I cry over commercials. I don't know what you're talking about. I am very in tune with my emotions.
Well,
Touche.
I think that
Also,
caps us off
another
on the
nitpick.
nitpicks. Okay.
Sorry, one last nitpick. He's this creepy dude that's trying to hit on you, and then she like still says, "Yeah, let's go to dinner." If that doesn't blow your cover, I don't know what normal woman would.
I mean, if I'm honest, if he looked like Will Smith, even at 51, I would be going to dinner. But maybe that's just poor judgment
me
on
too.
my part.
I think you're projecting. I think you're projecting the celebrity of Will Smith onto that situation.
Maybe. I think you just don't know me and my poor choices.
Don't
well
use big
enough.
words, Travis.
Okay, so with that, has anyone's opinion changed about this movie?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a good movie now.
Yeah.
Brian's
Yeah.
line.
I'm just kidding. But I did enjoy it. It's still a bad good movie, but I enjoyed it.
I agree.
So my opinion did not change.
I agree that it's a bad good movie. As in like it should have been so much better.
However,
but
it's entertaining and watch it.
I will say that the only thing that makes it like a good movie is the de-aging of Will Smith. I thought that was phenomenal CG work.
All right. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up
Yeah.
by saying thanks for listening to us and to Gemini Effect Man Butterfly. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and all the things.
Yep.
And personal, plugs. Travis, you got anything?
You can follow me on all of social media at Travis_Orozco.
I am Bossip, not to be confused with Bossip.com on Instagram, and I am at Brian Ossip on Twitter.
I am Kylena Mai on Instagram, and that's pretty much the only thing I use. So
Gotta
check
get
me
on
out
that
there.
Twitter.
What?
You got to get on that Twitter.
I'm on it. I just don't use it.
When are you gonna sell Bossip for millions of dollars?
I need more followers. I've only got like 3,300 followers. I want to hit like 5,000 before I try to sell it. I think I get big
Yeah.
bucks at 5,000.
You know what Bossip is?
No.
It's a black gossip, like TMZ.
Bossip.com.
But
And
you
his last
have
name
the-
is Boss.
Right,
his
right,
last
right.
name is Ossip, and his @ is Bossip. So he
Yeah,
has like
so I get tagged.
1,000
I get tagged and stuff all the time.
So funny.
All the time. There are days I'll wake up and have hundreds of new followers, and when I chase it back, it's because somebody tagged me in one photo.
Oh my God, I love that.
As Bossip.com. Even Bossip.com's official account has tagged me in things on Instagram.
I love that so much, and you, definitely use that. To
I'm
your
a minor
advantage.
celebrity.
I love that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm a minor celebrity.
All right.
Thank you. I'll sign autographs for anybody.
Well, I think that's our show today, and thanks for chiming in, ladies and germs.
Yes. Be sure to check us next time when we watch Citizen Kane. Bye.
Good Bad Bad Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.